Welcome to this episode of Back to the Story, where friends come together to play Dungeons and Dragons. I'll be your DM, Klaus. Let's get started.
When you see God's rest surrounded by armies, then know that his desolation has come near.
It is my destiny, not yours.
Really, it doesn't fucking matter if I'm ready or not. I have to deal with the end of the world, and I'm not ready for that.
The reason why any of us are enough for anything is because we have each other.
Everyone can change, not everyone will, but everyone can.
And every day has been beautiful since.
For these are the days of vengeance, to fulfill all that is written.
Yes, I know we all want to compare our god's dick sizes right now.
My glory is to protect. My virtue is sacrifice.
My curiosity is satisfied.
For your sins, I will allow you to seek the knowledge.
Have the courage to do what's right and not what's written.
And God's rest will be trampled underfoot by the heretics until the times of the harbingers are fulfilled.
We've gotten through this before. We can do it again.
You got this.
One more time.
Previously, as the Bronze Scales begin seeking the powers and weapons to kill the Eternal Harbingers, they prepare for the journey to Gaethalt, the permanent divine hurricane in the Vross Sea far to the west. As the snow fell, Vesper sought to bless Braun, but was met with an unsettling third party. Ellory spoke to the Raven and set preparations with the Voltimary Temple, as Felix made friends with an elder entity of smoke and magic. The next morning, the Scales leapt into the Everstorm, falling out of the tempestuous sky and into the Vross Sea. Swimming to shore, they were blessed in salt and sea before sailing into dark waters. Braving the storm while the ship began to tear apart, but broke through and into the eye of the storm, meeting the guardian of the vortex. Fighting past the multi-headed serpent, the Bronze Scales strap themselves to the mast as they are pulled under and the ship is torn apart. We come back to the story here. After being tossed this way and that, strained against the bindings holding you to the mast and your muscles, the intense pressure stops. You open your eyes, blinking against the water to see a deep void, the sea. Dark waters all around. There's an ambient light, yellow, light shafts descending down from the unknown. You've landed upon a large galvanized stone, maybe 60 by 60 feet, with a large tail wrapped around it of green and gray scales, maybe 50 feet wide in places. It wraps around the stone before spiraling down into the depths. Your sight is limited to about 600 feet. All along this tail going down into the depth, you see kelp floating off of it, rocks. You see the remains of wood and mast and sail kind of floating off in all directions as you unlash yourself to the hollowed mast where you've kept your most valuable possessions. What would you like to do?
All right, so what are we looking for? The creature itself, its binding, a rock and a bowl to put your eye in? I don't know.
To be honest, I don't have very much to go on myself. But I kind of assume at this point that we're going to have to go down.
Well, shall we go down?
Looking around on this platform, are there any signs of people being here? I mean, you mentioned something about bits of broken ship and things like that.
Make a perception check.
17?
You don't see any armor or weapons or anything like that left behind. The bits floating or sinking down, you think might be from your own wrecked ship, though it's hard to tell.
Okay. Well, I think I'm probably going to have to talk to Ur'Satha or something, but I'm not really sure, so Let's go see what we can find.
As we go towards the edge, I'm going to cast Alter Self on myself to give me an aquatic adaptation and a swim speed.
Do we have alter self in the ring or something?
I don't remember what we put. No, because I put haste in the ring.
Right.
Freedom of movement will grant you swim speed, if you would like that, but that's higher level, so maybe we wait.
That was ball.
Are we trying to keep it really dark in here, or I know there's like a dim yellow light. Are we avoiding using light?
I don't think so. We're going down to talk to the creature, so I don't think we have to sneak. I mean, we are at the bottom of the ocean, so who knows what other horrific monstrosities are down here, but maybe they're scared of it.
Alright, then I think Balk will turn on his ruby crown. I think at this point, normally he keeps it around his bicep, but this time he's just going to be kind of carrying it in his hand, almost like those triangle instruments, except it's not a triangle, it's a crown. But yeah, it's not on his bicep, and he's just kind of holding it in front of him, kind of as like a beacon of light.
And the crown, as you ignite it, it flames up initially, but is sort of snuffed by the water, but it still burns red hot like a coal. You can see bits of water that kind of bubble up and steam from its heat. And as you guys begin to swim, some of you that are wearing heavy enough armor, it may weigh you down enough to where you could sort of walk on the tail, but otherwise you might be swimming down. You see the tail widens the further down you go. You will see every now and then wounds upon the serpent's body, some smaller than others, scales cracked, some torn. You see wrapped around it kelp that rises up, yellowish in tint with some baubles, spheres, pockets of air. And as you're moving, the two people who are leading this, give me separate perception checks.
I think I would be one because I can swim a little faster.
And I think I would be one because I'm not letting everybody else go in front of me.
Oh, that's a natural 20, so...
Perception, you said?
Yeah.
Do not have Felix's sheet up.
9.
Okay.
I think it was like 24. I don't know exactly.
Jeez. So as you all are going, it's dark and feels empty. Like the only thing here is the serpent that slowly the body of it is shifting from side to side. And it's very dark, very dim, that sourceless light, like it's reflecting off of something. You can never really tell from what. But as you're going, you occasionally can see silhouettes, maybe in the distant, blurry shadows where the tail maybe is looping around again, though it's hard to tell. But Felix, you can see past it, down. You see the tail wrapping around something. You think it's another stone at first, but as you begin to swim closer, you see it has a shape, purposeful. It's maybe is or was maybe 200 feet long, maybe 50 feet wide. You see a ship of stone, the tail wrapped around it, half crushed. You see upon the stone carvings, though it's hard to tell what they are from here, and with a natural 20, you notice there's mounted ballistica upon the ship, and you thought you saw something move upon the ship, very briefly.
There's a really old ship, and I want to go see it.
I think we can probably accommodate that.
There might have been something moving on it, so... I mean, we're a blaze of light, so... watch out for ballista bolts.
Well, thanks for that heads up. Oh, let's go check it out.
I'm going to activate the Cobra Head as we go deeper.
Okay.
So that gives me a little bit more sight.
And there's that brief flash of geometric light before it dims. As you guys approach, swimming closer, you can begin to make out some of the carvings, these waves and storm upon the ship. You can see the head of the ship has broken, tattered remains of the ballistica. Looks like a few of them are crushed, and you see pieces of something upon the ship. You get closer and you can tell you think they're glass at first, but they look like bones. The stone of the ship is cracked, and on the deck are the remains of a battle fought long ago. Some of these bodies are laying sunken, tall, maybe taller than Ball when they were alive. 10 to 12 foot long skeletons. You can see the remains of armor, similar light scaled and skirt armor, and the bones themselves are like none you've seen before. They don't seem to be made of bone, but made of some sort of deep blue sea glass. The other bodies you see are maybe only 5 feet long, 6 feet long. You see they are serpentine, no legs, arms, wide viper skulls, with very little armor remaining, though a few tattered and broken ancient rusted weapons. The captain's quarters seems to have taken the brunt of the damage, the tail still wrapped around it, squeezing. What do you do?
How close a look do you want, Felix?
I mean, I wouldn't mind taking a peek. I am an archaeologist. Well, I was. But, Ball, any of that armor look like it'll fit you? Is it better than the horse armor you've got on now?
Ball kind of looks at his horse armor, takes a look around at these. Now, I know you said some of these skeletal bones are larger than Ball. Are there any that are more Ball size?
They're close to your length, at least 10, 12 feet. Some are taller, but much more closer to your height than maybe Felix's height. You can make maybe an investigation check to see if you can find enough pieces that might work.
All right, investigation check. I get blessed, right?
That's
perfect.
not on skills, but I will help or lead if you would like.
I've got a -1, but I think Ball might do it anyway, even though you probably have a better roll than I do.
That's fair. I will help, so at least you can have advantage.
Perfect.
And actually, I have my special historian thing, so I'll lecture you as I do it of the proper types of armor. So I forget what that gives me. I think you get to add plus something. I'll look it up. Roll.
So it's a 20 plus whatever you've got.
Yeah, I think you get +5 from...
If I remember from the last time I had a character who had that, I think you have to roll something first, and then if you succeed, you add, your intelligence modifier. But if
my proficiency bonus, but I have to make a DC 15 check. My bonus right now is 15, or 14, so I made it with a 7. So yeah, you get to add +4 to whatever it is.
All right, so that's 24 final.
The D4 does not add in.
No, I thought that was
skill checks.
Okay, well, 22 then. Good to know.
Still. So using Felix's guidance upon ancient armor styles, you're able to search through these bodies, and there's maybe a dozen of them that are intact enough to look through. And you don't find a full set on each one. Invariably, one piece is always broken, but you begin to cobble together this armored skirt, these shoulder pauldrons that attach together behind the neck, these sort of long, waving pauldrons that go out maybe 6 or 7 inches beyond your deltoid width. The armor looks like old brass at first, but as you kind of dust some of the just the grime off from it sitting here. It appears more gold, but it's lightweight. You see simple carvings of sea waves and storm upon them, and you find this set of scale mail that you think you can tighten the straps on and make it work.
As this is all going on, I am just keeping an eye out since Felix mentioned seeing movement.
Okay, make a perception check.
19 this time.
Okay, so Ellory's looking out. And to clarify, Ball, this isn't scale mail by the definition of D&D, but it has the appearance of layered scales. So it may be something different.
So scaly mail.
Scaly mail, that's right.
So Ball will look to Felix and say, I think there might be something for me.
Right. I'm just going to do a quick scan for anything else. If I find anything of value and we find, I don't know, a week, I might be able to enchant it for you.
And maybe while Felix is scouting it out, Ball will just do a little divine sense and see if anything strange piques his interest.
Okay. So Felix, you said you're searching, just looking around for valuables?
Yeah, if there's an easy way in, I will, poke a little bit in there.
Okay. Give me an investigation check. And as you're doing that, Ball, you divine sense. And you get the familiar sensation of some sort of higher being faint coming from the bones of the tall creatures, from the sea glass bones, but nothing other than that.
And would I take that to understand that whatever it is not quite dead?
It's almost residual. It doesn't seem to. I'm kind of playing with the definition of it, the borders of it. There's something residual that might be celestial or of a higher power. Oh, and something otherworldly in the opposite directions. Massive. All around you.
All right, then I think Ball will just kind of continue to look around, but doesn't mention anything.
22 on the investigation check.
Felix knocking about. You see a few more pieces of weapon and armor that seem like they might be valuable. They seem to be made out of gold or something at least similar to it. You also, with that roll, looking near the captain's quarters, it's been crushed and collapsed, and there's rocks and parts of the ship have kind of collapsed in the way. But looking through the gaps, you can see part of a treasure chest sticking out. This seems to be made out of some metal covered in grime. It's like it's still intact.
Does it look like there's a way someone could get in, or is it we would have to pull the pieces, unearth it?
It would be tough. A gnome or someone small might be able to slither through the gaps, but otherwise you might have to push some of the rocks out of the way. It's not impossible, but it would take some effort either way.
How far away is it? From where I can reach?
Maybe 30 feet or so.
All right. Well, that's at the very edge of Mage Hand. So I will cast that and just see if the chest, opens. It's most likely locked, but if I can maybe just peek.
Casting Mage Hand and pushing it forth, reaching out towards the edge of the range. The hand pulls on the chest, but it seems to be locked. But in doing so, you do kind of brush off a little bit of the grime, and the metal does appear to look like gold, ornate in some way. But the chest itself remains locked, or at least is an opening.
I'll turn to the group. Looks like a fancy chest in the captain's quarters. Not sure if it's worth trying to pursue, but, funds have been low.
Might not be a bad idea to try and recover it.
I could probably try to get as close as I can to it. Not super small, but I'm kind of thin and I know how to deal with locks.
I could also make myself very small, if just for a moment.
Could you make Amson smaller?
I could make one of you smaller. Or myself.
I can't do that. I would just burn Amson.
I'm pretty sure I still have that. Yes, I do.
Ooh, I do too, randomly today. So yeah, we can do reduce on somebody.
Do you want to do it, or shall I?
I'd like to take a look.
Be my guest.
So I will go ahead and cast reduce on myself.
Just to be extra safe, I'll cast freedom of movement on you. So you have full movement underwater now.
Okay.
And that cuts your height to, I think, half.
Yeah, so I think I'll be like just over 2.5 feet.
Tiny Ellory. Okay, and you're going to try to squeeze through the gaps to get to the chest. Okay. Mm-hmm. Give me just a straight, or acrobatics if you have it.
Okay, I do.
You kind of contortionist your way through these gaps.
That's 17.
Okay. It'll take you a few minutes to squeeze through. You think you can eventually do so, but it might take maybe almost 10 minutes, 8-9 minutes to get there.
How long does Enlarge Reduce last? Only a minute?
Yeah.
See, you get part of the way and you can kind of tell it's going to take longer than you expected.
I'm going to come back out. Yeah, I can't get there in the time that I have on this. If we want that, we're going to have to take some time to clear things out.
Actually, because Amson did the freedom of movement, give me one more roll. Because I didn't take that into account.
That's a natural 1.
Okay. So yeah, same thing happens.
So, do you want to take the time, or do you want to keep going?
Throughout all of our movement on this, has that disturbed the coiled snake at all?
Every now and then it shifts and squeezes tighter and releases and drifts from side to side, but nothing major.
I mean, if we can do it carefully, I wouldn't mind.
That is a wonderful sound to hear just randomly.
Ellory, you're in charge of this expedition, so it's your choice.
I don't mind taking a bit of time, but we don't really know how far we have to go. So, if it seems like it's going to be taking too long, then we should probably move on, but let's see how quickly we can get to this thing.
It's one of my stronger spells, but I could probably get rid of most of it pretty quickly.
What do you have in mind?
I've been practicing moving things without touching them, and I learned this particularly powerful one where I can just move a whole bunch of things all at once.
I mean, it's a gamble. It could be empty, but I'd like to think you don't keep nothing in the shiny gold chest in the captain's quarters.
Maybe let's see what we can do with that first, and then... I don't necessarily want to use a big spell right now.
Alright, Ball, I want to see if we can shift some things, and Ellory, be ready to jump in and see if you can pry it out?
Sure.
Ball nods.
Alright, Ball, give me an athletics check.
So Blessed only works for saving throws and attacks, not...
Correct.
Got it, okay. Alright, well that's a natural 1.
You move the first couple blocks out of the way, the smaller ones, the sizes of large pumpkins, but once you get a few feet into the room, the pieces are much larger, and there's no real support system, so there's nowhere to push it. And if that weren't enough, there's still the coiled serpent that's laying on top of that. And you move a few of the smaller rocks and can move into the room, maybe 5 feet or so, but that's about as far as you can get.
I I'm having some trouble here. I don't know if I can make much more space.
Well, I say it's most likely either Amson's spell or move on.
Amson, how much will you have left if you use this now?
I could probably cast another 2 spells about the same power, so... But I'll have a bit left, and then I'll have all my other smaller ones.
Well, I think I'll leave that up to you then. If you think it's not too much effort to expend right now, then go for it.
I'd really like to know what's in there, so I think I will.
Me too.
Alright. So try to get out of the way a little bit and away from the exit. This is probably going to be a lot of things, and I am going to cast telekinesis. And it's concentration up to 10 minutes, and I can move any object that weighs up to 1,000 pounds.
Okay. What does this look like as you begin to clear these rocks away?
I think for Amson, he starts to hum a little tune to himself and then just kind of bounce in place a little bit and move his hands around because this is one of his more wizardy spells. And so it looks more like he's casting an actual spell, and he's guiding these and moving them with his hands as they're kind of just floating away from him. Okay, so using the spell to telekinesis some of the larger boulders out of the room. Some of the bigger ones there's no real place to move them, but you shift them over a little bit. And eventually work your way to where you're parting this rubble, this collapsed room, and like the sea until you can see a pathway. And you can see the chest shifting the last few stones. And you see covered in grime, but a little glimpse of something gilded where the mage hand of Felix wiped it away.
Is there enough room for me to go in there without making myself smaller again?
At this point, yes.
Okay. So I'm going to slip down there to the chest and look for traps, because I'm not always very good at remembering to do that, but it's important.
Investigation check.
Why does it have to be investigation for traps? That is a straight 13.
Looking around, you don't see any mechanisms or anything like that. It's not tied to anything. The hinges seem fine. It is locked, though.
I'm going to just tug on it gently and see if it comes loose easily.
It's locked in place.
Okay. Then I will stay there and try to open it where it is.
Okay, make a lockpicking check.
Can I? No, never mind. I was looking at something I do I don't know if it'll help us in the long run, so maybe not. It's concentration.
That would be a 9 on the lockpicking check.
What is happening? You work on it for a minute or so and bend one of your lockpicks, but can't quite get in.
Do you need some help?
Shut up, Felix. Can I try again?
When you're pulling the lockpick out, you think you might have left a piece of it in there. You're not sure. It might be harder, but you can attempt.
How long have we been here working on this?
It's probably been 10 minutes or so, maybe a little longer, looking around, clearing everything out.
All right, I'm gonna give this one more try, and I'm gonna use my other D20 this time. This one is not helping me very much today.
Would you like an enhanced ability? It's the second level, and it's concentration, but I can do it.
You know what I'm going to do? I am going...
Don't send the inspiration if you don't have to. I can help you. I can do enhanced ability.
I'm going to cast guidance on myself, because that's not going to use a spell slot.
What does guidance do? Add a D4?
Add a D4.
Okay. Roll with disadvantage, because as you begin to manipulate it, there does seem to be a piece of your previous lockpick left inside.
Okay, come on. 15.
You're working on it. You managed to clear out that other piece, but after a couple minutes of working on it, it's not pure complexity, but it's some of the pieces to move it is also kind of difficult to move some of these pieces, whether intentional or just old. You think you could probably manage it if you kept working on it, but it might take a little while.
All of a sudden, she just hears right next to her ear, "How's it going?"
Shut up, Felix.
Is it like a padlock? Or what kind of lock are we looking at?
It is somewhat like a padlock, but it's built into the chest itself. Which I guess is not a padlock. It's just a locked chest.
But it's not like separate from the chest.
Yeah, it's not separate.
Ball, do you suppose you could just break it open?
Yes, I think I could. I just didn't. You were having fun.
Oh. My pride is telling me to give it one more try before letting somebody else try.
I push her out of the way.
God damn it, Felix.
Can I attempt?
You can.
I will roll and probably use Flash of Genius. So that's going to be 18, and then plus 5 is 23.
Okay. You begin to work on it, and you kind of realize after 30 seconds or so that it's not incredibly complex, but it's complex enough, and the gears just are very difficult to turn without bending and breaking lockpicks, which you do pull out another piece of Ellory's before continuing. But after maybe 2 minutes of tinkering with it, pulling out a piece, you eventually hear a click.
I will open the chest.
I'm just standing there with my arms crossed, glowering.
I'll just reach up and put the little piece of her lockpick in her hand.
The chest resists a little bit from the grime buildup, kind of like a honey jar respilt, but you're able to pry it open. And on the inside, it's a little cleaner. You can see this chest is made out of something gold. And inside, you see a helmet made out of a combination of a silvered metal and sea glass inlaid. You see 2 large ingots of gold. You see a smattering of coins, gold, platinum, silver, and you see a few gems as well.
I immediately grab one of the coins to look at, like, what's on it.
Okay. There's also a compass. Ellory, as you look at it, you see the celestial V symbol of Voltamary on one of them.
Oh, this is interesting.
Yes, it's all very interesting as Felix is scooping it all into a bag. We should probably move on.
I want to grab the compass before he scoops up everything else.
Oh yeah, you can have it.
And Ellory, that 19 on perception you rolled earlier, as you're scooping this stuff up and you're beginning to move back out through the gap Amson made, you hear a coming from outside of the room.
I kind of, as soon as I hear that, I hold my hand out to everybody. Shh. There's something out there.
Okay, well, we should get the fuck out of this room before it collapses on us.
Just everybody be ready for a fight.
Bull, did you go in? You would have had to squeeze. Or I guess who went?
Ball wanted to, but then Felix ended up doing everything, so Ball didn't need to go and smash anything.
So who went inside and who waited outside, or did all of you go try to go in?
I thought it was just me and Ellory in there.
Yeah, we were all kind of standing at the entrance.
Okay, and the rest of you were at the entrance. In that case, that is a 17 to hit you, Ball.
And I also can't be surprised because of the Cobra hit.
Okay.
Say 17 to hit Ball. I have +2 AC, right? I think that's what.
Yes, +2.
Okay, so then that won't hit.
Okay. So you don't initially hear the clicking, but Vesper, something as they're beginning to carry all of this stuff out, these gleaming coins and diamonds and a compass, you hear or sense something. The back of your neck tingles as you quickly turn around, the heightened senses of the Cobra hood, and you see towards the front of the ship, one of the ballistica has turned around, and a large javelin, maybe the size of a spear, is flying towards Ball. You yell out, and Ball begins to spin as it slams into his chest, and the spear itself snaps in half, breaks. It pierced into the armor a little bit, dented it, but not enough to go all the way through. As you see a figure maybe 5 or 6 feet tall behind the ballistica. What do you do?
Do I still have telekinesis? Has it been longer than 10 minutes?
You probably still have a little bit of time. Well, you're probably in the last minute. It took you some time to clear, and then they've taken a few minutes to be lockpicking.
Okay.
You see this creature is starting to load another bolt and is beginning to crank it again.
I'm just gonna call out, wait, we're not looking for a fight. And then over my shoulder, something's out here, and it's not happy we're here.
You hear it hissing something that you can't quite understand, as you see it's cranking the bolt back.
Try Draconic and just say the same thing again.
No response. It seems to be continuing.
Okay, shit.
Am I holding up any rocks currently with telekinesis, or am I free?
You can grab one if you want. It's up to you.
Well, actually, I want to try to pick up the creature.
Okay.
So it needs to make a strength check if it's huge or smaller. Or a strength save, sorry.
It is medium, and that is a 7.
No. So I'm gonna...
So as it's trying to crank it up, you lift it up and away from the ballistica.
Oh, no, wait. It says, make an ability check with your spellcasting ability contested by this creature's strength check. There we go. So that's what I have to do. Oh, well.
You rolled a 7 total.
So. 4, so that's, dirty 20. Still.
Yeah. You pull him away from the ballistica. He's this squirming, and as you pull him away, you can see his form is no longer covered by the ballistica itself. You see he has 2 humanoid arms. You see the head is wide and viper-like, its body elongated. You see it has no legs, but has a long tail coiled around, desperately trying to grasp down towards the ballistica, trying to reach and pull itself away from this magical grasp.
I'll start pulling the creature towards us as it's levitating in the air. Or water, rather.
You pull it towards you as the rest of you make your way out of the collapsed captain's quarters. You see this creature squirming against it.
Huh. Well, I'm getting the impression that this is not one of the original crew members of this ship.
No, it doesn't look 12 feet tall.
I'm going to try primordial, and I'm going to try and keep it as unaccented as possible, and just kind of, because I know I'm strongly ignorant, but...
It's hissing, but it doesn't seem to be responding to what you're saying. Ellory, what languages do you speak?
I speak Orcish, Elfish, and Infernal.
Okay. You can't understand what it's saying either.
Does it sound familiar to things we've heard in the past? I mean, like Abyssal is coming to mind.
Perhaps, yeah. If you know that, you might recognize what it's saying.
I mean, that's the one that we all look at each other when someone starts shouting at us, and it's been hissy before, so I figure we might have a suspicion.
Yeah, so it's hissy and abrasive and dark and jagged words hissing from this creature's mouth. If any of you do speak Abyssal, you might understand.
Is Amson still bringing it towards us?
Yeah, I can bring him closer.
I think as it gets closer, Ball will just kind of grip Abelmer, just kind of, and just maintain eye contact with this creature.
once it's pulled relatively close to you, it's still squirming, but it pulls a blade from its side and kind of is it prepared to use it if it needs to.
Look, I don't think we're going to get much out of trying to talk to this, well, whoever this is. But as I'm saying that, I'm looking around to see if there's anyone else approaching.
Make a perception check.
May I also do so?
Yeah.
I'm going to use one of my new dice now. Oh. And hope it doesn't betray me.
Oh, you should.
It betrayed me. 8.
Good start to the night. 7.
Besides this creature squirming, you don't see any movement beyond that.
Can Ball cast... I always forget that it is not a person, but I'm going to try it anyway since I wanted to. Can Ball cast Hold Person on it? And then you can tell me that it probably doesn't do anything?
Reaching out, attempting to keep it from squirming, it doesn't seem to be affected.
And that's how you burn a spell, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know. Can we either just kill it or throw it away? I don't think we're going to be able to get anything out of it.
You see it starts to pull something else from its side, put it up to its mouth.
Ooh, nope.
Ball wants to try to smack it out of its hand.
Make an initiative check.
You make an initiative check.
I will.
Initiative is... I suddenly can't find it. There. Natural 20. Sucker. For a 19.
Okay. Make an attack. Or an athletics check. Your choice. Depending on how you're doing it.
Well, I think Ball's got he's gripping the Abelmer, and he's basically just going, sees it, and in that instinct, or in that moment, he doesn't have time to react to try to grab him with his fist, so instead he's just going to try to hammer it out of his hand, whatever it is.
Okay.
So I'll do an attack. Sorry, it's been a little bit. A 17.
It grabs this...
Oh, actually, plus Blessworks for that, so plus 1d4.
Okay. It grabs this strange something from its side. It looks like a shell at first, but then it has this, like, 2 flutes fused together, but the shape isn't a rod. It's more like the piece of a skull that's been pulled out and hollowed. And it begins to blow into it and hear, and just as Avelmer slams into it, knocking it from his mouth and smashing it, the gunna scatters upon the deck, pieces floating in the water.
I think at that moment, Paul will kind of run up to it, maybe grab its throat and kind of look around to see if that has triggered anything.
As you go up to grab its throat, after you knock the device out of its hand, it begins to hiss, yell as loud as it can. By the time you grab its throat and kind of pull it down, clenching it, muffling the noise. Looking around, you notice, and all of you notice, the coil of the serpent. The tail that comes from above and spirals down into the deep. It shifts some, sways to left and right. The coil around the ship tightens. Parts of the ship breaks in further. Pieces fall off and begin sinking. And you hear very deeply far below, as you can feel and sense the tail beginning to shift further.
I think it's time to fucking go.
You hear this echoing growl. It's hard to tell exactly where it's coming from. It seems to come from everywhere. It's loud enough to where it vibrates your chest. If you've ever been to a loud concert, you can feel the sound vibrations of this creature.
Okay. Yeah, we should go. Ball, can you, snap that neck or something? I don't know. And I'm going to swim very quickly over to Ellory, and I am going to tap her and give her tongues. Because whatever that is, I would like to know what it's grumbling.
And Ball will kill it somehow. I don't know if I have to keep attacking it or if it's kind of defenseless with. I don't know what exactly telekinesis does. If it's easy to hit or not.
It's considered restrained.
I'm not going to make you attack this poor thing to death. You can choose to snap its neck or crack its skull open with your hammer if you choose.
Yeah, I think maybe Ball goes for the quicker of the two, just kind of snapping the neck real quick.
Okay.
Before we take off, I was going to ask this earlier, but didn't want to interrupt people. How big are the skulls of the glass skulls?
They're large creature size, so they're the size of Ball's head, maybe a little bigger, but about that size.
Not something we could easily take with us.
You could take it with you. It'd be the size of like a watermelon, maybe. A big watermelon, a pumpkin, maybe. It's not impossible, though. It would be heavy.
Yeah, it's not worth it. Okay.
So what are you guys doing? You hear this growl. You've cast tongues on Ellory. You've snapped the neck of the serpent creature. Its body listing.
We are continuing down.
Yep, pretending that whole little side adventure didn't happen. We didn't do that. Just gonna keep going.
Okay. So as you're swimming down away from the ship, you hear the cracking of it from behind you. Looking over your shoulder, if you glance, you see pieces of the galvanized stone that makes up that ship breaking off and sinking down. After a minute or two, you see, and the ship is finally snapped, and about half of it sinks down, falling into the depths. Swimming ahead as quickly as you can, you can see the serpent spirals down and down and down. And as you're heading in that direction, you can start to see something ahead. You see blue light very faintly on the edge of your vision in this depths. And all along the way, you hear Ellory. You hear
Foul Mother, Invader, Seekers of Lost.
These words that stretch out, some of them taking 10, 20 seconds to say one simple word as you're swimming down. At this point, you all can begin to see that blue light is in a line. And it's not just one light, but streaks of fast-moving lightning in a bluish tint. The silhouette of the blurry shadows begin to clarify, and you can see a large rod sparking with electricity, almost holding it, and it is impaled in the side of the creature. All the way through. It looks like a massive javelin that's maybe 200 feet long. It's hard to say. It goes completely through the creature and is unmoving despite the serpent squirming and moving and shifting now more than it did before.
Could you repeat the words that I heard in a human voice so I can understand it a little better?
You heard child of foul mother, invader, seekers of old curse. I can't remember exactly what I said, but it was something to that effect.
Well, safe to know it knows we're here. And I'm assuming that down there is one of the bindings.
So we'll have to pull that out?
Probably after we've negotiated with it.
Yeah.
As you're looking down at the javelin, the binding impaled into the creature, you start to feel a pressure, an updraft from below, water rushing upwards. You have to almost swim into it to keep your place, and a shape begins to form below you, diamond-shaped, as the head of a white viper begins to raise from the depths. It has a large dorsal fin that starts at its crown and runs all the way down its tail. You can never really see the full body. It just goes off into the blackness. As it begins to tilt the head towards you, you see it has no eyes. And where the eyes were, just scales, the blue-green scales. You see the mouth is wide, almost zipper-like, and as it opens it up to speak again, you can see these two large fangs. The head itself is maybe 150 feet wide, 200 feet long. It's massive as it rises up, searching for you. The water around seems to push and almost push you in its direction. What do you do?
How far away is it at this point?
Right now it's maybe 500 feet, but it's quickly, between the water pushing you towards it and its head rising to meet you, you're quickly coming closer.
Well, while Felix is peeing himself, I'm going to do the AIN equivalent of crossing myself and cast protection from evil and good.
Okay. And as the head kind of rises up, recognizing you, though with no eyes, it speaks again, the familiar growl, but Ellory, you can understand the words.
Leaders, forlorn ones, what do you seek?
So I am going to, if I wasn't already, move ahead, down to the front of the group, and say, we seek the means to kill those who can't be killed.
You seek knowledge.
Yes.
Knowledge I can provide.
So I understand.
Lord will allow you to seek this knowledge, but first you must break.
And its head tilts to gesture towards the large lightning javelin impaling its body.
Looking around, do I see similar blue flashes anywhere in the distance?
Make a perception check.
Okay. I would like to also. Because I think as soon as I would have seen the first one, I wanted to start.
We're good. Natural 20 again. That's a 26. Sorry, Vesper.
It's fine. I don't trust my dice tonight.
As this is all happening, you're looking around with a natural 20. You can scarcely. It's almost more that you can hear it at first. You can hear the crackle in the distance, and it's far to where you look in the direction and you can't see it. Maybe you can. It's hard to tell if your eyes are playing tricks on you or not, but you think you can hear a crackle, a separate crackle of similar energy.
I'll relay that to Ellory that I'm fairly confident it's not the only one down here.
I nod. Do you know what it takes to break this?
One of her hands, the serpent's of her, she placed it, nor me, her or her followers can remove it. Discharge the tempestuous energy. Release me.
How close am I at this point to the binding javelin?
It's 200 feet or so. You'd have to swim to it.
Okay, yeah.
You could.
So I will start swimming towards it.
Okay. And as you swim, the head kind of follows you. And as you get closer to this massive javelin, maybe 200 feet long, impaling this creature. And it, unlike the currents of the steps, unlike the moving serpent body. It is unmoving whatsoever. You get to it and you can see lines drawn into it. Very simple, crude. They hold crackling blue energy.
Okay. So now that I am in range, I kind of look at the others. You may want to stand back a bit for this. And or swim back a bit for this. And I hold out my hand, the one with the mark from Baltimore, and I will use the gift that she gave me and use it to cast lightning bolt.
Okay. As Ellory swims closer and the rest drift back a bit to give her space, you hold your hand up that scar, and from it you feel the crackling energy erupt out of it. It slams into the javelin, and all along it goes running to both ends and then back. And as the energy collides back where you initially hit it, it arcs back towards you. Our perspective rotates as we see this lightning bolt flying back towards you, Ellory, your face illuminated by this blue light, eyes wide, as it slams into your hand where it came from. But it doesn't sting. The arc remains, this lightning arc, kind of this connection, and you feel something come alive. You feel a power beyond. Give me a wisdom saving throw.
Okay. Excuse me. Wisdom saving throw, so I can use the blessing on that, right?
If you choose. Out of the blessing, yes, you will.
Okay. So that is, I mean, the blessing didn't add much, but that is, it's a dirty 20.
Okay. You feel the arcing energy. You feel vitalized. As her perspective kind of rotates around Ellory, you can see her flesh is almost glowing, almost illuminated. Her veins every now and then, her eyes are bright, all nearly glowing. And Ellory, you feel yourself filled with vigor and power, and you feel a connection to the tempest energy within, and it's yours if you take it.
I will take that.
You all see the javelin, that blue arcing energy, 200 foot long from end to end, suddenly rush towards the center where the arc is formed, and then rush across it into your hand. It pushes you back, Ellory, through the waters. As your eyes are glowing, sparking, you feel this energy all around you. The binding, as you're looking at your hands and feeling this energy surge through you, you look up and you see the binding is without energy. The serpent twists and moves, and now the binding no longer keeps it in place as it shifts, and that part of the tail falls into darkness below. You see what can only be described as a horrific smile from the serpent, eyeless, fangs maybe 10, 12 feet long, as it moves its head in y'all's direction.
Done well. For your sins, I will allow you to seek the knowledge. I hope you succeed.
And with that, the head moves towards you, Ellory. It gets to where it's only maybe 15 feet away, and it is massive. A single fang is double your height, and the jaw unhinges as it opens up wide, and you see a dark, lightless pit into the interior of Ur'Satha.
I think Ellory, as that feeling of power went through her, she kind of was unconsciously smiling. But at this, that smile starts to fade, and I kind of give a big watery sigh and turn around to look at the others. Well, time to go get what we came for.
All right, but if we're exiting through the back, I don't care. I want the world to end.
And as you guys see the depth inside the mouth of Ur'Satha, maybe break time? Okay.
Can I just wait in the car?
We'll take a quick break, and then you guys can get eaten, I guess.
Subscribe?
Smash that like button.
Patreons. I hate this.
I love this.
D&D was a mistake.
Next time on Back to the Story.
Felix, as you swim forward past the massive fangs and into the interior itself, you can see down into the depths, though it's very dark. That yellow light isn't present in here. It's cold. You see this pyramid, wide steps leading up, symbols of serpent, the fang columns, as well as slitted eyes carved along the steps leading up.
This episode is continued in Part 2, which uploads Friday and will be available wherever you're listening now. For behind the scenes and more, check out our Tumblr, back-to-the-story at tumblr.com, and follow us on Twitter for updates, at back2_the-story. And if you're feeling especially generous, feel free to buy us a coffee at ko-fi.com/backtothestory. We'll see you next time in Norithil.